stick by you all the way through.
Welcome back to Her Rules Radio. I'm Alexandra Jameson, the hostess of this podcast. Glad to have you here if you're a regular listener, and welcome for all my newbies. I'm the co-creator of the Oscar-nominated documentary Super Size Me and the co-star, as well as the author of 4 books, including my latest, Women, Food, and Desire. I've been a health and life coach for over 15 years. I live in Brooklyn with 2 insane kitties, my husband Bob, and my awesome 11-year-old son. And today's show is all about making peace with food and your body. You know, I've worked with a lot of incredible women over the years. Thousands of women have taken my programs. More have read my book. And I've worked with a small select group of private clients over the years. And one of the themes of all of the women that I work with is their desire to make their relationship with food and their body graceful, effortless, and even fun and loving. And that's what today's show is all about. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Her Rules Radio is brought to you by FabFitFun, and this is super, super fun. If you don't already know about it, it's a seasonal box that you get sent to your house with full-size beauty, fitness, and lifestyle products. They do these cool quarterly boxes, and their spring editor's box is going to be awesome. I can't wait. I've got one coming to me in the mail as we speak. It has products like these eye masks and skincare products, a mug by Aisha Curry. How cool is that? All these celebrity fans are really into it. And normally that kind of thing is like kind of off my radar. But when I saw that Nikki Reed and Martina McBride and Bethany Frankel, who I went to culinary school with, by the way, hey Bethany, how's it going? You do not want to miss this box. It's really fun. It's like Christmas in your mailbox 4 times a year. And these boxes are just filled with really fun, super valuable goodies. Each box retails for $49.99, but always has a value over $200. So you get it's like getting it for a quarter of the price. And if you go to fabfitfun.com/rules, then you get $10 off. Right? Your first box is $39.99 instead of $49.99, and you get over $200 worth of stuff. So just go to fabfitfun.com/rules and get all these goodies. So here are some of the goodies in the current spring editor's box. A deep conditioning mask from Briogeo, Free People Starry-Eyed Travel Eye Mask. By the way, I could have totally used that on my last trip. Had all these super crazy early flights that just totally wreck me. I really need a travel eye mask. Thank you. Can I go back in time, please? The Rachel Pally clutch. You get a clutch and Tarte Double Duty Leave Your Mark eyeshadow palette. It's fun stuff. If you're the kind of person that loves to go to those makeup stores and buy a bunch of stuff, you're going to get all the things that you already love, but it's a huge surprise. One of the other items that you usually get is some kind of fashion item. And when I saw that they have Michael Stars as one of their fashion lines that it gets included, Michael Stars is my all-time favorite t-shirt line. Fave. The nicest, softest, best-made t-shirts from Michael Stars. You might get one of those in your FabFitFun box. So go to fabfitfun.com and use the code RULES, and you can save $10 off your first box, making it only $39.99. Also, a fun gift for anyone. So go check it out. Last time, fabfitfun.com. Use the code RULES and get $10 off. Okay, when we discover how to step beyond our habits, our automatic reactions, to really listen to what our cravings, our desires, our bodies are really saying, and we have finally decided that we want to live a life of agency, a life of action, The first thing we must do, the first thing on the list for most of us, make peace with food. Now, I hear some groaning out there as I say this, but because a lot of us, who doesn't have a gnarly, complicated relationship with food? Since the beginning, since one of the first stories, since Eve plucked that apple off the tree of knowledge, we've been a little freaked out by taking hold of our desires. We all know that it is the stuff of life, that eating is how we fuel and nourish our bodies. But this basic truth has been lost to us, hijacked and turned on its side, upside down, by all the negative meaning that food has been buried under. And I'd say the number one feeling that comes up for my clients, at least at first, when we start talking about food, is fear and frustration. Yeah, you heard me. We don't talk about what's delicious, what's satisfying, what's fun about food. And food should be all of those things. We talk about how food has us women feeling trapped or sick or stuck in our lives. Food for so many of us has become the enemy. And it's no wonder when we are constantly given the message that we're not supposed to enjoy our own bodies. How can we enjoy food? How can we love food if it's become our secret, furtive sin, gobbled down in our closet or in the darkness of our kitchen after everyone else has gone to sleep? Or a substitute for a partner that we long for, or a relationship that we wish was better, or a substitute for meaningful work that we don't have, or all of the other hundreds, thousands of unmet desires and needs that we have neglected or hidden from. When we are enslaved by our cravings, when we are food's prisoner, then there is no way that we can enjoy that relationship. None. Not truly. We might have moments of pleasure and bliss, but it's just moments. When we feel like we have no say about our relationship to food and our body, then they both lose all ability to really please us. So if you've had a stressful day at work and you come home and pound a pint of ice cream or a bottle of wine, there is no way that the lettuce wilting in your crisper or the fruit you buy and eat only when you feel like you have to is going to look good to you. How could it look good when in all likelihood you are riding a crazy sugar and fat high after all that ice cream, hating yourself with food, and while it's wreaking havoc on your body? At these moments, when we are lit up from caving into cravings, what is good for us has lost its appeal. We've fallen down a rabbit hole of habit, and the food that we really need, and you will soon discover the food that you really want, stays out of reach, far above us, where it wants to be savored and enjoyed. But we feel stuck down in a dank, dark place, too busy hating ourselves for yet again reaching for the quote-unquote wrong thing. And it's a vicious cycle, this kind of habit-driven, poor, destructive eating, and only we can break it. It's not pretty, and we've all been there. So how do we find that sweet spot, the place on the teeter-totter where our relationship with food is pretty even-keeled and not wildly swinging from high to low? Of course, our relationship with food will go up and down, but these gentle ups and downs, the highs and lows, even these ought to feel good and not be too traumatic or severe. Think about it. What's the best part of a seesaw? The ride. That's what it's all about. And that's what our relationship with food can be like also. And this is why I'm such a big believer in detoxing or cleansing. I had a show a couple weeks ago about detoxing your body and your life. Cleaning out your refrigerator, even the year-old jar of killer fudge sauce is something that you need to let go of. But first you need to flush everything out of your system that's holding you back, right? We need a clean slate. Once you've done that, then you can begin again. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time. Seriously, it can be an afternoon. It can be an afternoon of drinking water and eating a piece of fruit. It can be a day of salads and smoothies. That can be enough. And once your system, your palate, and your brain are clear and clean and quiet, then you can mindfully add back foods that you know will enhance your health and well-being. and help you feel strong again. And you can truly start a whole new relationship with food and your body that will provide you with so much more than just the nutritional bits and pieces. It's the foundation. You need to be strong and clear and in sync with your desires and brave and strong enough to pursue those desires. And it will also become a source of deep pleasure in your life. You can count on it. So here's a story from my own life. Every year since my divorce, I took a trip to Costa Rica with a group of people on a retreat. People who wanted to live more in alignment with their desires. And all I packed for those trips were my bathing suit, some really comfy, easy clothes, flip-flops. I leave everything else behind, including my phone and my laptop. We weren't even supposed to use them. I kept my phone in my luggage, did not use it. And the purpose of these retreats was to detox from my everyday life. And so at the heart of the detox was a complete break from all media. That means no TV, no texting, no music, no reading, nothing, just being. And the first time I went, it was really hard to relax. I was so twitchy. It took me a few days just to settle in and be okay with myself. And without anything but the lush, bright, beautiful, noisy jungle around me to distract me, I had no choice but to get comfortable in my own skin, get comfortable with what was going on in my own overstressed brain and my broken heart. Recovering from divorce takes time. By that time, I think it was the second year I went, by the time the week was over, I really felt a new sense of myself. I felt like a new woman. I was sleeping better. I was calmer about everything, including my relationship with food. In fact, my first trip to Costa Rica was when my friends love to point out I realized that my severe judgments about how wrong it would be to eat meat was holding me back physically and emotionally. They saw me fighting what my body was really craving, and I can see now that struggle had been going on for a while. So if you don't know me, I was vegan for over a decade. And through my divorce and through some real physical and nutritional challenges, I was starting to crave meat again. And on this particular Costa Rica retreat, I started really craving fish. And while I was there, people noticed, hey, we noticed that you haven't been feeling well, and this is a safe place for you to have some fish if you want it. Nobody here cares. So I did it. I took the plunge. And that Costa Rica trip was really, the beginning of me discovering what my body really needed and how I could honor her and really nourish my body. And so, I've tried to go on at least one retreat a year as a reward that I give myself. And for months beforehand, I schedule all my commitments so that come that week, I can take off time alone. I know that my house will be fine. My son will be taken care of without me, that all my work is up to date, that all my clients are cared for. They know that I'll be gone and off the grid so that I can slip out of sight for a full week and no one will even really notice I'm gone. Now, believe me, I know I am a very lucky woman to be able to pull this off. And I am grateful, so grateful for all the support I have around me that enables me to make this happen. A few years ago, after my mom died, I took a week and went on a kind of a spiritual quest to Joshua Tree. I went on a camping trip with a wonderful outfit called the Animas Valley Institute, which is all about, spiritual journeys in nature, where you can go kind of an outward bound for adults, where, again, off the grid, you spend a lot of time alone, but you have a group that knows where you are and a group to camp with and eat with. And those times alone in nature are some of the most healing, profound discovery times in my life. And every time I go, I experience new insights about myself, about my life, and, every time it's something new. Now, there was one time that I was in Costa Rica and I was sitting and just watching the jungle for hours. I would get up before dawn and go sit in these rocking chairs and watch the world around me wake up. And I had been sitting and just sitting and watching. And you'd be amazed what happens to your sense of time when you don't have to be anywhere and you're not wearing a watch and you don't have your phone. And another one of my retreat mates came up and sat next to me. And she took a couple apples from her bag and a small knife. And she asked me if I wanted some. Now, I've never really liked green apples. I like them in pie, but I find them too tart. And so I said, no, thanks. She's like, are you sure? Just give it a try. So I did. She handed me a slice. And this green apple was the best thing. My mouth is starting to water. It was like the best thing I had ever eaten in my life. I can't even describe to you what happened when that sliver of apple hit my tongue. I was overwhelmed with the most incredible sensations as my mouth just exploded with the clean, crisp, perfectly sweet, tart flavor that I felt like I had never experienced before. And I turned to her and I just started swooning over that apple. And she laughed and she nodded her head and we agreed and we just went on like this about how freaking great this apple was. And let me tell you, at that moment, that bite of apple was the best thing ever. But here's the thing. I don't think I ever would have been able to taste that apple if I hadn't detoxed from the noise and the clutter of my life. I was only able to taste that simple, perfect piece of fruit in all of its complex glory because I was absolutely at peace and present. There were no distractions, just me in the jungle with a friend and a slice of apple. It was one of those profoundly simple, lucky moments when I felt so fully how beautiful eating is and how lucky we are to have access to so much healthy, delicious food. So being in the moment, one bite at a time. When you take away all the overstimulation and noise, that is when you get to make peace with food. But you don't have to run to the jungle and do a full-on media detox like I did to get there. You just need to decide that you're going to back away from noisy foods and, big distractions while you eat. Anything that's processed comes in a box, a jar, or a microwavable container, and recommit yourself to discovering and eating foods that are untainted by chemicals and genetic and industrial modification, and foods that are just natural. You know what I'm talking about, real food. You need to decide that you are going to do your ever-loving best to eat more whole, fresh foods. And at first, redirecting your diet in this way can be hard. Transforming food habits is sometimes a challenge. But remember, we are reshaping established actions, not denying you your life, which as you clean up your diet will begin to feel more naturally fluid and full. The transformation of old habits, rituals, even the rituals we know are bad for us, that rewarding pull into the fast food drive-through lane after a tough day, that can be challenging too and very emotional, right? What are these habits saving you from feeling? It takes a little time and patience and gentleness, but know that you will get there because what's on the other side is the truth of your life. Now, food can be your greatest source of stability. Discovering how to eat to support the rhythms of your bodies creates a state of flow within us, a state of real engaged balance. And when you eat a really well-rounded diet, not with a lot of restrictions, you provide your body with a blend of nutrients that she needs to function really optimally. The ways that supports your immune system and resets your metabolism and fosters better sleep and improves muscle mass and strengthens your muscles and your skeleton and balances your nervous system. That's what we want. And here's the thing though, a balanced diet is always changing. It's not a static thing. We think balance as being like standing on one leg in crazy tree pose in yoga where our arms are just, up to the sky and we're balancing on one foot, perfectly static. But here's what I believe balance is. Balance is a dance. Imagine you're dancing with a partner and you're moving forward and back together and sometimes you're cha-chaing over to the left and sometimes you're, sambaing over to the right. Eating and balance is a dance. You're moving, you're constantly changing. And being able to go with the flow with your diet is what balance is all about. It's about riding the wave of your life. So I'm really all about, I'm pro-diversity and I'm anti-deprivation when it comes to the issues of eating and, eating to support the size of our body, the comfort of our body, the comfort of us in our skin. And any extreme behavior, which is what most diets are, very well may prompt a dramatic weight loss for a moment. But research shows that not only does weight not stay off for the long term, but that most dieters regain everything they lost and then some. And that's because these food plans are too restrictive and limiting, so they're unsustainable over time. So think about just slowing it down when it comes to food. We need to spend more time being with it, thinking about it, shopping for it, eating it. We've got to be willing to enjoy food and find the pleasure that it brings to our bodies in subtle ways. It's the only way to find peace and balance with food. So here's the new rules of eating. The new rules are, there are no rules. We are living during a true renaissance when it comes to what we know about our bodies and nutrition, what we know about how food influences our health and our brains, right? It's a two-way street. We are aware of the importance of eating locally sourced, organic whole foods. Scientists are really beginning to understand the gut microbiome. We get it that sugar is a drug and that overeating and undermoving are deadly habits. In short, we have more information. We just don't trust ourselves. We still don't trust that we can find our own way with food. And that's because, honestly, the diet industrial complex, as I like to call it, is alive and kicking. This belief that someone else knows better than we do, that some expert will tell us exactly what to eat, and if we're compliant and obedient, then we'll lose all the weight. And then what? When will we have discovered about ourselves that we can be trustworthy, that your body is trustworthy? How will we feed ourselves going forward if we are the expert? How will we find nutritional balance and health if there's no one out there telling us what to do? So that's why diets fail. They fail you. You don't fail the diet. The diet fails you. They don't teach you how to listen to your body. They don't empower you to trust your own excellent judgment about food. They don't teach you to feel your current experience and make choices based on your truth. They don't teach you to discern which foods help you feel radiantly well and then support you emotionally. That's because most diets are not a dialogue. They are rule books, and they're pretty shitty rule books at that. When we put someone else's rules of eating above what our bodies actually need, we further disassociate from ourselves and lose our ability to feel pleasure, which is actually our greatest ally in our journey to wholeness and sexy self-acceptance. Being flexible with food is the best way to be flexible in your life. When we're open to new eating experiences, we are open to everything. New ways of relating, new sensations, new ways of presenting ourselves, new ways of being in the world. So I want to talk about intuitive eating. By the time most clients contact me, they no longer have any idea what true hunger is. They don't know how to listen to their bodies. They have become adept at following rules that other people set forth. They know a lot about deprivation, self-loathing, and shame, but very few, if any, have even the faintest idea of what it means to truly be hungry and to truly be able to take a step back and listen to what their bodies are saying they need. And that's because most of us have been spending our lives trying to outwit or outrun our desires and hungers, right? I'm talking about writ large. I'm talking about the full spectrum. By overeating, undereating, overworking out, seesawing between all these extremes. When we're able to get in touch with our true hungers and desires, it becomes a recognizable, clear-eyed inner guru. When we honor it, hunger becomes our most intimate ally in our quest for true health, a real source of support and advice that we can come to rely on to nourish us as our passions and our lives grow and evolve. Our true hunger is the antithesis of the bitch brain, right? That inner resistance, the ego. Instead, she is the voice of reason and reassurance that we've been needing yet avoiding our whole lives. What if hunger could be an ally? Hunger is the voice of our purpose, our feminine power, our deepest desires. It's not a frantic, grasping, or whining voice. On the contrary, the true voice of hunger is patient, calm, and wise. Getting to know and befriend your hunger is one of the most important relationships you will ever have in your life. It's like meeting this sister you always suspected you had who's just like you, but without the self-judgment and the self-sabotaging and the self-loathing. She is you on fire. How cool is that? And getting to know her, your hunger, and closing the divide between you is what this journey is all about. So you need to get to know her intimately. And you need to feed her in ways that deeply support her and you. The best way to do this is to eat intuitively, to eat to honor not just how you feel now, but how you wish to feel a few hours from now, a few days from now, a month from now, and so on. The goal is to eat in order to live your life to its absolute fullest. Let me say that again. The goal is to eat in order to live your life to its absolute fullest. So let me give you an example of how this worked for my client Stephanie, who came to me a few years ago because she wanted to lose 50 pounds. She was very busy, very successful, big family. And until then, she had had one bad diet experience after another. She would follow the rules of whatever diet she was on, lose the weight. Then when she had met her goal and the diet was done, she'd gain all the weight back. And the story is so common, right? And she came to me because she'd finally come to the conclusion that she needed to forget dieting and learn to eat for herself. So during her first meeting, I asked Stephanie what her desire was, and she said, to lose this weight once and for all. I took this in, and I said it back to her differently. What if you said it like this? I want to learn to eat food that nourishes me, makes me feel well, and lets me feel comfortable in my body. I intentionally left out the losing weight language, hoping that this might prompt her to look beyond the numbers on the scale. And, giving the numbers on the scale so much power, she left herself with nothing but lots of self-judgment and criticism. And Stephanie heard what I said, but she wasn't quite sure if she could live with this more open-ended, fluid goal, but she deserved to believe that she could try. Okay, she wanted to want this. And so we began this process of Stephanie learning to hear her hunger and identify what she needed and wanted for her body and her life. And at first, this practice filled her with a lot of anxiety, because for the first time in her life, someone else wasn't telling her what to eat. What I offered instead was the chance to explore how various foods helped her feel, what they represented to her, and how to align her diet and her food choices with how she wanted to look and feel. Her quest, her hero's journey, began in the produce department. I actually met her in the Whole Foods. During one of our first sessions. She lived in New York, so we were able to meet up in person. That's one of my favorite things about working with local clients, is that we can do things in person. So we started in the citrus section, and I asked her what she thought about oranges. And she said, I think of a cardboard box in the fridge filled with reconstituted orange juice because my dad loved it. She's like, I hated it. She grimaced. I was like, okay, pick up an orange. She did. She held it in her hand, and I encouraged her to smell it. And I scraped the rind with my fingernail, releasing all that fragrant zest and oil. And she closed her eyes. She took a deep breath, and this smile just spread across her face. Nice, huh? I handed her the orange back. Now, pass it back and forth between your hands and tell me what you think of holding this beautiful ball. And honestly, she looked around. She was a little embarrassed. She was like, is anyone watching us? And she said, okay, it's really juicy. It's sweet, but it's this big, beautiful, round thing. And, it's got all these sections inside, and sometimes it's really tart, but also sweet. It's like, yeah, they're kind of complicated, right? And I said, well, do you like that? I said, honestly, she said, I don't know. She's like, I don't buy them. I don't buy oranges because my dad always got this gross reconstituted stuff. I said, well, why not get some? Find out. So she put it in her basket. And we went through the store in this way, in this really leisurely, thoughtful way for about an hour. when she checked out, she had all these really interesting things that she normally didn't buy. Cool, soothing cucumbers, fresh, vibrant green spinach, apples, almonds, dates, limes, a bunch of citrus, some sparkling water, and the orange. And she promised me that, well, she promised herself she would really think about how each thing tasted and how it made her feel when she ate it and how she felt afterward. That was her project. That's intuitive eating. And it's the surest way to finding pleasure with food, like real self-loving pleasure with food that nourishes you on a soul and body level. And the next week when we checked in, she greeted me by saying, "Guess who loves oranges now? And spinach." She was really having fun with it. So over the course of a few months, her experiment in intuitive eating was just humming along. She was trying a much greater variety of foods. She found that she was eating less because she was so much more present with her food. She enrolled in this Indian cooking class for beginners. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you. I went and I got my scale out of the closet," because I encouraged my clients for the first month or so, like, let's put the scale away. Put it in your car, put it in the garage, put it in your closet. Just take a break. She said, "I've lost 15 pounds. Can you believe it?" I mean, she wasn't even trying. She was just being present with her food. And I reminded her that she did try, but in a completely relaxed and stress-free way. She had learned to engage with food in a way that was all about curiosity and not judgment. Eating had become part of her self-care, her health-care, not an activity she dreaded or something she was going to have to count up or something she no longer felt like she had little or no control over. Eating had become, finally, a source of deep pleasure and curiosity and exploration, adventure, and satisfaction for Stephanie. Her body responded to this loving self-care by letting go of the weight it had felt compelled to stockpile all those years when she had been dieting. Thanks for listening in this week. Everything that I've discussed today, I go into in much deeper detail in my book, Women, Food, and Desire. And you can download the first 2 chapters free at bit.ly/women free desire. Go there, give me your email. I'll send you the first couple chapters, and I'll send you about an email a week with a lot more deep dives into how this work can serve you in growing your life. Thanks to my son Lakin for creating this brand new outro music. And if you love the show, please go on over to iTunes and please leave a review. It really helps other people find the show. Again, go to bit.ly/women free desire to download your free chapters from my book, Women, Food, and Desire. See you next week. Mwah!